Welcome to the first Sports Talk ATL podcast. I am your host, Harrison Coburn, along with my co-host, Chase Earl. How are you doing, Chase?
I'm doing good today, Harrison. How are you?
I'm doing good. First podcast. I'm excited. Been doing the website here for a while, but trying something new here.
Yeah.
But last night was a big night. Let's just right off the bat, even though they didn't go after many bats. Last night was the MLB draft,
Hold
and
up, hold up, hold up. All right.
I can edit this out. It's not a big deal.
No, like, let's fucking let's
Make
do
it sound
that
more natural.
better. Yeah, let's do that better.
All right.
Oh
Dude,
shit.
that was awful. That was horrible.
Oh,
Right off the bat, even though they didn't go after many guys. Oh my god.
oh, dude. All right. No, that's why I said you should talk about the finals real quick first, because that's something like we know a lot about. Like we can talk about that
All
naturally
right,
real
fine,
quick and
but
get us
you
in a flow.
you want to lead in with the finals talk first?
Just yeah. Whenever you say like
My
how are you
co-host,
doing?
whatever.
Yeah. Whenever you
All right.
say like this is the first podcast or whatever, be like, but we got a lot of great topics on the table. Like say a couple of the topics, and then just say, but let's start off with tonight, Game 4, Cavs Warriors. Chase, like who you
All
got?
right. You ready? Let's do it now. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the Sports Talk 8. Okay. Welcome to the Sports Talk ATL podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Coburn, and this is my co-host, Chase Earl.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Okay, we had to start over.
I thought you were gonna say like.
I know, dude. I need. All right. Once we get this intro down, we'll be golden.
Yeah, we got this.
All right, let me get Ralph in my room so he'll stop barking, and then we'll do this shit. Ralph, come here. Ralph, come here. Come on. Chill. Okay. All right, you ready, baby?
All right, you ready?
Yep. Welcome to the Sports Talk ATL podcast. Today is our first episode. I'm Harrison Coburn, and here with my co-host Chase Earl, and we have some good topics for today. We're gonna talk some Jeff Teague, what's gonna happen with him, and we're gonna also talk where some Braves players could be going, some guys that are being mentioned on the trade market. Chase, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great today, but also today tonight we got Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Who you got in that one?
Oh, it's a hard game. I mean, I could totally see the Warriors stealing one on the road, but the way Cleveland played at home, Game 3, it's hard not to take Cleveland this one. But I think it could go anyway. I'm taking Cleveland.
Yeah, Vegas has it at -2 in favor of the Cavs. The Cavs just killed the Warriors. It hasn't been a close game all series. I think that changes tonight. You know,
Yeah,
the
it's
Cavs are going to play.
about time. I think this is going to probably be the most intense game. I mean, there's a lot on the line now. It's a series. I mean, if everybody wins at home, all it takes is one person to steal one game on the road,
Yeah,
and it's going to be crazy competitive tonight.
I just think you're going to see a lot more from Cleveland what you saw in Game 3. I think LeBron's going to play great. I mean, he plays great nearly every night. I think all the supporting cast plays a lot better. You play a lot better when you're at home when you're not a star. I mean, the stars are always usually going to perform, but for J.R. Smith, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, they all play better at home, and you saw that in Game 3. I think you're going to see that again in Game 4, but I think you're going to see, how great the Warriors are. They're just going to they're going to play great, and I think it's going to be the first good game this whole series.
Well, we saw it firsthand in Atlanta against our Hawks. When Cleveland's clicking on all cylinders, there's just nothing you can do. And they were last game. It really just, I think if they come out of the gate and they play like they did game 3, they're going to take that game. But if it's a close game down the stretch, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, those guys scare me.
Yeah. I mean, that's the interesting thing about this whole series is when each team plays their best at home, like, I don't think either team can win. So it could be a series like that if they both just play their best.
There hasn't been a close game.
Yeah. So it could continue like that. But switching directions here, yesterday, the first day of the MLB draft, the Braves had 3 picks in the top. What was it, 40 picks?
We had 3 in the
44 picks.
We had 3 in the first 44 picks. We also had the 76th pick, who I also really like. A lot of people disappointed that the Braves didn't go for that close MLB ready, power hitting college bat. A lot of people wanted Kyle Lewis, local product at Mercer, and they went with a relatively, not a relatively unknown prospect, but just not a guy who nobody thought he was going to go top 5 or anything. This guy, Ian Anderson, he's from a New York high school, and a lot of guys have compared him to Mike Messina, scouts in the Braves organization have. I think that a lot of people think that this has been a low slot pick for the Braves. They could save money for some of their later selections, which I do think is the case. But, the Braves, the scouting department has said that they thought that this was the best guy left on the board.
I mean, he's got a huge arm. He's throwing 95 already coming out of high school.
Yeah, he's 18 years old. He's got that 6'3", 170-pound pitcher's build. And he was committed to Vanderbilt. And I think this kid's going to be a great prospect. I definitely think he's easily a top 10 prospect in our organization now. Still a very high upside guy. And this opened up some serious doors for the Braves here because with that, even though they went all in on pitching, they landed 3 of the top 25 prospects on MLB.com's top prospect list in the first, with their 40th and 44th pick, got a lot of value. This Joey Wentz kid they took with the 40th pick, he could be even better. I mean, he's a lefty, and he's throwing 95
too.
Every single one of his pitches has a plus grade, and this guy has frontline starter potential just like him.
Which is about what, the 10th one of those guys we have now in the organization.
Yeah, I mean, from Foltynewicz down to Wentz now, one of these guys has got to hit at some point.
I mean, hopefully more than one. I mean, it's going to look good when a bunch of these guys start popping at the same time and and then we can start investing in some bats.
Well, you look and you see what the New York Mets have done when people are talking about, oh, we have enough pitching, let's go get some bats. The Mets literally built that team on a rotation last year, and they just, they used the trade market, they used assets, and they went out and got some bats. I mean, they threw us a couple stones with Gant and Whalen to get Uribe and Kelly Johnson, who, down the stretch didn't help them that much, but
they obviously
helped
pick up
them along the way.
They pick up Cespedes too.
They pick up Cespedes and boom. I mean, team, just the complexity of that team
they go
changes.
From possible playoff team to World Series contender with one trade for one big bat. So when you got pitching, you don't need much else. So you got to understand the psychology behind the draft picks.
While we're still talking about pitching, they still got another guy who has upside starter potential, another lefty. This kid Kyle Mueller is another high school senior from Jesuit College Prep in Texas, and he's another guy with plus fastball, plus curveball, strong kid. He's got the perfect frame. I mean, these guys, if they can sign all these guys, Wentz and Mueller, they're going to require a little bit more money. I think this handshake agreement with Ian Anderson, it was to probably to get some extra cash, and that's why they traded those two prospects to get that 76 pick. They also got more bonus pool money to play with, and they're using it to their advantage. I mean, John Coppolella, he's a smart general manager, and his strategy seems to play off at the end. I mean, some people were skeptical after the first pick, but they end up getting 3 upside potential starters.
And what about this Cumberland guy? He's the one bat that they got.
And then they at number 76, they draft this kid out of California, and he's a catcher. So,
and he led the Pac-12 in home runs this season.
The crazy thing about that, I think he had 12 home runs. Is that what the number was?
I think it might have even been more than that. I can get that real quick.
Don't worry, we can edit this part out. This dude, I was looking at this. That was only in like 100 at bats.
I'm trying to figure it out. Where is it? It was in Gordon's article. He did an article today that we could post. It just needs a picture. I edited it. I was reading it. But anyways, it's like 14 or 15 home runs. He led the Pac-12.
All right, ready? We're going back to podcast.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this kid, in 180 at-bats last year, 344 average, 16 home runs, 51 RBI.
Yeah,
and those numbers are absurd.
That's 51 RBIs in 52 games. That's what
it's completely absurd. And we'll see how the college numbers translate, but he's an advanced college hitter. He's one of those guys who's supposed to go through the system relatively fast.
Yeah.
And this is our biggest need right now. Christian Bethancourt was not the answer. Now we have stopgaps like AJ Pierzynski and Tyler Flowers manning the position. And, they have a couple catching prospects. They invested in Lucas Herbert last year. I really like Jonathan Morales. He's a younger guy. But this guy could be the answer. Ever since we lost Evan Gattis, we've gotten no production at that position. Pierzynski was good last year, but we're looking long-term here.
Yeah. Even though I like the some of the production I've seen out of Flowers, he's been one of the few guys to watch hit occasionally this year.
I'm just excited to see this. I mean, this kid's probably a couple of years away, but we're talking about when this team is competitive. This Brett Cumberland kid, if he can produce anything like he did in college, he's going to be right there.
Yeah, and a good hitting catcher is hard to find. I mean, there's very few of those out there today.
There really is. If you're hitting 250 as a catcher, that's good these days.
Yeah, Brian McCann, we kind of got, and Evan Gattis too. I mean, we kind of got blessed with 2 of the best hitting catchers at those times, and those don't come around often. So, as we can see now, it's hard to find a good hitting catcher.
Well, let's talk some Falcons here. Positional changes all over the place. Dan Quinn really changing up this defense.
Yeah, I mean, the Falcons didn't really make any moves. They didn't make too many additions to the defense. Obviously, they went defense the first 2 rounds, but they didn't make any big free agent signings. They focused more on the offensive side of the ball and free agency with Mohamed Sanu, and it looks like the biggest changes Quinn are going to make are just positional ones.
Well, first off, Quinn comes in with the same personnel that was the worst defense in football 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, and he immediately makes them mediocre.
Literally 16th overall, middle of the pack.
The Falcons,
that's impressive off the bat. So he's making. Go ahead.
The Falcons' defense wasn't really the problem last year. I mean, when the offense was clicking at the beginning of the year, the Falcons' defense was holding teams to under 20 points, around 20 points each game, giving them a chance to win. I mean, this offense needs to play better than what they did last year. If the Falcons can improve on what was a mediocre year, I mean, this team should be a really solid football team next year.
Well, Dan Quinn is not content. He will not rest until he finds the perfect recipe for his defense. Here are the list of positional changes we have here. Vic Beasley, he goes from defensive end to outside linebacker. They're transitioning to be the Sam type linebacker in that Seattle defense that he ran. So he's filling that Bruce Irvin hole.
Bruce, a guy I expected the Falcons to go after in free agency, but he's in Oakland now.
Brooks Reed becomes the Leo linebacker. So he's actually more of a pass rushing role, even though he's more of a run stopper. Rashid Hageman making the switch to Rashid Hageman. Let me just start over saying that.
Okay.
Rashid Hageman making the switch from defensive tackle to defensive end. Tyson Jackson, defensive end to defensive tackle. And then you have Robert Alford transitioning from outside corner to nickel corner. That's a lot of guys. That's a lot of mixing and matching.
Yeah, but Quinn's a new coach. I feel like first year in there, you're kind of getting used to what your personnel can really do in the games. And obviously he wanted to change some things up. And can you argue with him? His resume speaks for itself. What he did in Seattle, what he did at Florida.
I'm not arguing with him whatsoever.
He's a defensive mastermind. So I have to think I trust in what he's doing. Alford has been struggling on the outside corner for years. Tyson Jackson hasn't been exactly what we thought he was going to be when we got him. Rashid Hageman, it has actually been more than I thought when we got him, and he's shown flashes of brilliance. And I think moving him to the defensive end allows him to be more of a playmaker. Brooks Reed didn't get a ton out of him last year, but obviously Dan Quinn thinks he can make him a pass rusher, so that'll be interesting to see. A lot of interesting changes this offseason, and I trust Quinn.
I do too. I do trust Quinn. And as you said, his resume speaks for himself. I'm just excited to see that defense on the field. I just feel like he's coming up with more complex schemes than they ran year one when he was just starting new, starting fresh. I think that this defense has some potential next year. And I don't even think the personnel is that impressive.
Oh, yeah. I think Keanu Neal is going to add a new element. Quinn's big on Neal. He's a guy who can absolutely kill people coming over the middle. You're not going to want to throw over the middle over this defense, and that's huge. And Dan Quinn said it. A guy with that kind of force behind his pads can change a game. He can have a huge impact on the game, and he views the safety as one of the most important positions, and we haven't had a good safety. William Warren's been declining for years. So
yeah, I think Keanu Neal was actually a good add. A lot of people not happy going safety with the first pick, but I think it
was interesting. It wasn't my expectation, but looking at the tape, he's an athlete, and Dan Quinn has preached that he loves athletes. He loves physical guys. He's built his defense around that in the past, and I expect that to continue. And it's no surprise. It's a good thing to see him going after guys that really fit his mantra, his system. I like that in a coach, and I like what I see in Dan Quinn. I think the Falcons are heading in the right direction.
Well, speaking of going in the right direction, what are the Atlanta Hawks going to do with Jeff Teague and Dennis Schroeder?
Well, in my personal opinion, I obviously want them to stick with Schroeder. I think Schroeder is ready to pop. I think you got to let him start now. They rolled with him down the stretch in a lot of the playoff games in the last 2 years. Teague's really not showed up. This news that Teague had a torn patella tendon and was playing with that all season also changes things, and I don't understand it. I don't know where it's coming from. It's kind of been kept under wraps. But I want the Hawks to continue with Schroeder, and I think they have to move Jeff Teague while they can, because letting him, you can't have him on the bench. I don't think that works, and I think you got to try to get something for him while you can. He's still an all-star point guard.
Well, you can't keep them both. Schroeder said he wants to start, and you got a kid with that much potential. You got to roll with him. Jeff
Yeah,
Teague just has seemed disengaged with Atlanta. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't love his team, doesn't love this city, but I feel like there's a little bit of resentment going on with him. We saw that little episode where he deleted all of his Hawks-related photos from his Instagram amid trade rumors, and now you've got him kind of. It seems like he's upset with the team with his tweet about how he played with his injury, as if the Hawks wanted him to keep it under wraps. I'm not sure. There seems like there's some resentment there.
yeah. It seems like a lot of stuff that we wouldn't have to deal with if Dennis Schroeder was starting. I mean, Schroeder's a competitor. I mean, you see, it's just the guy's per 36 numbers are off the charts. He's averaging nearly about under 20 points a game and over 10 assists for his per 36 averages. I mean, those are Russell Westbrook type numbers, and I'm not saying he can sustain those as a starter, but he's got superstar potential, and the Jeff Teague situation doesn't seem to be getting any better, and you got to pick one. And I think it's an easy choice. The only decision I think there is to make is if you want to move Schroeder for trade value purposes. I mean, he's got a lot more value on the trade market, as they've already discussed Jeff Teague and Nerlens Noel trades, which is a whole nother thing. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, a possible Noel for Teague swap. We haven't heard anything new on that, but it's still out there.
I mean, it's been a week, so I doubt that trade's going to happen. But if you're going to give me Nerlens Noel for Teague, I'm taking that trade.
I think that is highway robbery in my mind. That is flat highway robbery. Give me Nerlens Noel. I don't care about his injury issues. I look at that potential, and I see a guy who could be a really talented center in this league someday. And to me, Jeff Teague is Jeff Teague. It's not getting any better.
Value is down.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been playing. He has a torn tendon.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
His trademark is dead.
That's not a good thing. Yeah. So getting anything for Teague at this point, I mean, I think moving up in the draft for Teague I'm fine with that. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be maybe to get a guy that we want. I mean, if it's the difference between getting Devin Booker at 12 last year and, Bobby Portis, I would give up Jeff Teague for that. I think Devin Booker could be that big of a piece. If it's like, it could be a few spots.
I think Jeff Teague is the more polished product right now, but the Hawks have to look forward as a team and organization. And we're going to talk about Kent Bazemore and Al Horford here in a little bit, but I think the Hawks have to switch things up. Getting a player like Noel, I would love to see him and Paul Millsap.
Not to mention what it would help on rebounding and defensively. I mean, Nerlens Noel would instantly become our best rebounder and defender. I mean, our best shot blocker. He was the best shot blocker in high school. He really doesn't get that many minutes, and he's still averaging close to 2 blocks a game. I mean, he's a real shot blocker, and him and the kind of defense that we run could really make a difference. And especially considering we already have a point guard, Jeff Teague for Nerlens Noel is highway robbery for us. But like you said, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that ship has sailed, especially with the news of Jeff Teague's injury. So we're just going to have to.
Let's just go ahead and talk Al Horford and Kent Bazemore here. I mean, you get a guy like Nerlens Noel. I mean, this is not happening now. It's been too long. This injury stuff's come up. But I just don't see how you can give Al Horford the 5-year max at the rate he's going for.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't see him.
I don't
aging well.
I don't see it. I don't see the aging well problem. I mean, I just don't know how you do it. I mean, first of all, he's been injured almost 2 full seasons out of the last 4. His production is gone down since his second injury. He's not hasn't been nearly as productive of a rebounder. He's been still a pretty good scorer, and he's still a great player. But to say that he's not getting better, he's going to be stagnant for a few more years and then probably teeter off. And you can't tell me you're going to commit close to what, $145 million for a player who at the end of his contract is going to be averaging probably less than 15 points and less than 8 rebounds. It's just like those were his averages this year. I mean, what's to say he's even putting up close to that in 5 years? And what's to say he's going to put us over the top in 5 years? I don't agree with that. I think the only way you can pay him is if you get him help now. And if you don't get him help now, you can't commit that much money to the future.
No, I mean, this is Atlanta we're talking here. The chances of us getting a superstar are slim, but you land a superstar, you bring back Al Horford, you bring back that nucleus, they're missing one guy.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get someone now, I mean, we have bird rights, so we can make it work. We can make all the money work to keep Millsap, Horford, and another big player. But if you don't get that this year, you can't commit 5 years to Al Horford. I mean, it's not smart.
I'm looking in a different direction at center for next year if I'm the Hawks, just because I'm watching Cleveland play the Hawks, and Tristan Thompson looks like Hakeem Olajuwon out there with Al Horford on the boards.
Well, we were at Game 4, and I was telling you then, I thought Chris Humphries was the better big man than Al Horford. I mean, Chris Humphries.
Absolutely.
I didn't even think it was close. I was sitting there at the end of the game saying, why is Chris Humphries not in the game? Why is Al Horford in the game? He's been terrible. And I found myself saying that ever since Coach Bud put Chris Humphries in the game. And I'm committing $145 million to a guy. I'm not committing it to a guy that I want Chris Humphries in at the end of my last elimination game. That's just my opinion right there.
So we're in the consensus here that we're looking at other options at center for next year. I mean, I don't want Tiago Splitter to be a starter.
Yeah, I definitely think we have to explore other options. And I'm not saying Al Horford's a complete no. I mean, he may not demand a full 5-year, $145 million contract. I mean, he might. I mean, I guess by the market, he deserves it, even though I don't think he's worth that much. But if he gets it, he deserves it. It's his choice to take it. But as the Hawks, I don't think you can't offer him that kind of money. I mean, I just think it's just Joe Johnson all over again. And I think 2 years after we signed Joe Johnson, maybe right after we signed Joe Johnson, we realized, oops, this was a mistake. And I think that's the same feeling we're going to get with Al Horford. Even though I love Al Horford, he's been one of my favorite Hawks players. He's what's made this organization even relevant. I think you have to let him go if he's going to demand $150 million.
I agree. And the good news for Atlanta is there are a lot of big men on the free agent market.
Yeah. Oh, a ton. I mean, Dwight Howard, Hassan Whiteside, Pau Gasol, they're all out there. I mean, Pau Gasol could even be a guy that you bring in and bring off the bench with Al Horford. You could bring both of them in.
I'd rather bring in Pau Gasol for, a 2-year deal at a cheaper rate and try to get some scoring. I mean,
Pau has been great. Just like how long it seems like with every great player, they're just like they seemingly never can go bad, and then 1 year it's just like, wow, they're just not as good anymore. And I don't want that to happen when we commit. I don't want to commit $20 million a year or $10 million a year to Pau Gasol for him to start being Tim Duncan. So
I just think you invest in 2 years, try to draft a center these next couple of years, develop them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad decision. Personally, I don't think Pau Gasol is going to demand even close to that money. I mean, he's made it clear that he wants to play on a team that he can win. I mean, look what David West did. He went and played off the bench for San Antonio for $2 million a year. I mean, basically nothing. So, I mean, if Pau Gasol does something like that, he's open to everyone, and I'd love to have him in Atlanta. I think we went after him, and he took less money to go to the Bulls, and I bet he regrets that now. The Bulls were not near as good as the Hawks while he was there, and he would have helped us a lot. So, but switching sports here, the Braves.
Yeah. We got to talk. I said we were going to talk Bazemore, so we can just quickly talk about Bazemore.
Oh, okay,
I'm editing this out.
You're good. Yeah.
All right. And then you have Kim Bazemore here. It's a little bit of a debacle with him too. His market seems to be growing. Other teams are interested.
I mean, I saw the Pelicans. The Pelicans are now really interested. Danny Ferry just got hired over there as a special advisor or something like that. He's back in the NBA and with the Pelicans, so no surprise that he's starting to lurk at Hawks free agents.
Well, I think of Kim Bazemore, and just a year ago, I mean, people were kind of surprised that he was the starter instead of Thabo Sefolosha. And he made a bit of a name for himself this year, especially early in the year. But I felt like he wasn't the same player down the stretch. Great on defense, but I can't give this kid 8 figures.
I thought he was a really good. I thought he was good in the playoffs. I thought he was really good at the beginning of the year. You know, he kind of teetered off like in the middle towards the end of the regular season. But I mean, he was a great piece to the team. But like you said, the money is always the biggest issue. And I mean, if he's getting anywhere near DeMarre Carroll type money, like I mean, let's be honest. Does anyone look back now at how DeMarre Carroll played and say, "Oh, I wish we had given DeMarre Carroll $15 million"? No, no one wishes.
Absolutely not.
No, and like you don't want to be saying it was hard to let DeMarre go, but now you look back at that and say that was a great move. That was a winning move. You know, I think that's the same thing with Bazemore. I think Carroll was probably a little bit better than Bazemore, so I don't see any reason why we should offer him the same type of money. I don't think we regret leaving DeMarre Carroll, and I think we've proven that we can get the best out of anybody who plays that wing position in this offense. You know, they're going to get open shots. If you can make open shots, if you can be in the NBA, you can probably score 10 to 12 points on the wing. I'm looking elsewhere, but there's not a lot of options on the free agent market.
You just look at the Hawks roster. I'm the general manager right now. I can get practically – what's the word I'm thinking of here, Chase? Fuck. Okay. I can get practically the same production from Thabo Sefolosha than Kim Bazemore, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make Thabo Sefolosha the starter, so I don't really want Kent Bate. I think it's fine letting Kent Bazemore go because I don't think he's much different than Thabo Sefolosha. I think you already have that guy in Thabo Sefolosha. I think what we need is to bring in a guy who's for sure a starter. He doesn't have to be terrific. He just needs to be a guy who can get buckets when you need someone to get buckets, and that's what the Hawks were missing. They don't have a lot of scorers. I mean, Kent Bazemore can shoot the three pretty well. He can make an athletic play here and there, but he's not a guy you're going to hand the ball and hope to make offense by himself.
No.
I mean, he's never going to be that guy. And there's not a ton of those guys in the NBA, but you know, the Hawks are going to need to find someone on the wing that can produce for himself because they go through too many stretches, especially in the playoffs, where they can't find rhythm on offense. You know, the rhythm's not always there. They don't have a lot of great scoring. They're a great defensive team. They gotta find guys who can put the ball in the basket when the defense is at the level it is in the playoffs.
Well, here's how that was weird. All right. Okay. Here's how I look at it. I'm the general manager of the Hawks. I have my 2 best assets right now in Paul Millsap and Dennis Schroeder still, and I've got some money to play with. You know, TV deal just kicked in. Got some cap space.
I read.
How long has it been since the Hawks have gone star player? I'm making a run at somebody. I'm doing whatever it takes to get a star player to the city.
I'm making a run at every star. I mean, I think that's obvious. We've got to try everything in our power. We have a unique pitch, honestly, for the first time. We have a unique pitch. If you come to Atlanta and you're a really good player, if you're a DeRozan, if you're a Kevin Durant, you actually have a chance. Not a chance. You are a favorite. You're going to be a favorite going into next season at winning your conference and winning a championship. I mean, there's no doubt about that in my mind. I think, you know, the Hawks got swept by the Cavs, but those games were close. They were competitive. They competed this year. They're not really far off. If you add another big piece, I mean, they're right there with Cleveland. And that's a unique pitch. You know, they have a unique pitch. I mean, they can pitch that they're legitimate champion contenders with another piece.
I don't think DeRozan's going to put them over Cleveland. I think he definitely helps. Maybe you make a couple other moves, you can get there. But you put Kevin Durant on that Hawks team, chances we get him so slim. But that would be.
I think you're definitely there with Kevin Durant. But I really think if they added DeRozan, I mean, the difference between DeRozan and Kyle Korver is another level. And talk about a guy who the last 5 minutes you can hand the ball to. I mean, he did when the game was on the line against Cleveland. He made the plays. It wasn't LeBron James. It wasn't Kyrie Irving. It wasn't Kyle Lowry. It was DeMar DeRozan was the best player on that court when the game was on the line. And, you know, there was a lot of blowouts. Their team wasn't nearly as good as Cleveland, but DeRozan played great when the game was on the line. And that's the kind of guy Atlanta needs. And I think that would be a move that would put him over the top. Not saying that's going to happen either. I think both Toronto and OKC probably signed some short-term deal with their superstars. I think they kind of like stay for a year or such.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting. NBA free agency to me is great. It's one of my favorite times of the year. It's excitement. You know, there's big name free agents and money being thrown around everywhere, bidding wars everywhere.
And we're only 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner.
We even had a hostage situation last year, DeAndre Jordan. So hopefully we can have another hostage situation. And it might be Al Horford this time. Coach Bud might need to have him in his house.
Talk him back into signing with us after we get KD.
Yeah. After we sign KD, he might want to come back. But let's you might want to edit this out. But let's go to the next thing or whatever it is. I didn't have it.
I'll say it. All right, let's talk our last topic, Chase. Braves trades. That's all they're in the news for lately is who's next to go on the Braves, who's selling.
There's last year there was a question. You know, we were decent. This year, there's no doubt about it. We are selling and we're selling everything.
I don't know about everything though. They're getting stingy. Julio Teheran, obviously the prime trade candidate for the Braves, having a terrific year, definitely has some value, but
a ton of value.
John Coppolella has made it known that he's not moving Teheran unless he gets a bat of the same caliber and age, you know, team controlled.
Yeah.
Or at least on a good team-friendly contract extension. Otherwise, it's not happening. I mean, we saw the return for Dansby Swanson.
I mean, why would you trade Teheran? I mean, he's having a terrific year. I mean, the record doesn't show it, but the rest of the stats do. His K9 ratio is off the charts. His ERA is under 3. He's having a great year. And the Braves don't need to trade him. He's under team control for like 4 years.
Here's the thinking behind the trade. The Braves have invested all this whole entire rebuild. It's all in pitching. So is Julio Teheran gonna make it out of the 50 arms they have now? He's probably one of the best of them. I mean, he's.
I don't think that's a question. I mean, unless somehow he falls off, which happens. I mean,
yeah, we have to make sure not to talk over each other. All right, like a little bit better here, but just start over with what you're saying.
Okay. I thought you said what you said. I don't know.
Just say what you're about to say.
I don't even remember what I was about to say, dude.
Fuck. We're talking Julio Teheran.
Just they had fuck, what was I gonna say? I don't remember at all. What were we just talking about? I was in the zone.
Yeah, we talked about how
we're talking about Julio Teheran, but
we talked about how it would have to require Swanson return, and then you were like, why would we trade him? And then you were talking about that.
And then I said I gave some.
We were talking about will Julio Teheran make it out of the 50 arms that we have?
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll go
Okay.
from there.
But let me think about what I was gonna say here. Let's just start it back off.
All right,
Um,
tell me when to go.
just let me think real quick where we're at.
I'm just gonna go with. I'm just gonna say like whenever you tell me to start, I'm just gonna say, well, I don't think there's any doubt. He makes it out of the 50 arms. I think he's one of the best arms we have. Oh, and then I was talking about how pitchers falling off. I was talking about how pitchers falling off. That's what I was.
Okay, let me say something. Just don't interrupt because it's gonna be long, like a little long. But I'm just trying to make a point.
All right, you're good. Go.
All right, and then we'll get this will ease us back into it.
All right, go for it.
Here, this is a big reason why people think Tayron could be on the market. The Braves have gone all in on the pitching with this rebuild. Just last night, they took 3 guys in the top 3 picks that are pitchers. So the thinking is they develop pitching best. They flip these guys for bats down the stretch. That's how they become a competitive team on the trade market because they're a small market team. They'll spin here and there. They've opened up money, but it's not in their best interest either. It's a frugal team. But here's the catch. You can't have Matt Whistler anchoring your rotation at this point. And Julio Teheran is definitely one of the best of the bunch. This guy is barely any older than these other prospects. I mean, if it's a life-changing deal, if you can get a great bat for Teheran, okay, I'm open to it. There are a couple prospects out there like Joey Gallo. I love that guy. They could work something out, but you can't trade Teheran at this point. You just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean the Braves have every right to be stingy, and when it comes to Tehran, I mean he's got a ton of time left on his deal, too much talent. He's still so young, and knock on wood, providing any injury or thing, like he's going to be good for a long time. And I don't expect this rebuild to take 5 years. I mean, in a couple years, we should start seeing some of these young arms, come into form and start looking like the top prospects that they are and really good major league players. And then we can start flipping them for bats and start it to spend money. But we're far away. But
we're in limbo right now. We're awful.
Yeah, it's bad. But Julio's still got a lot of time on this deal, and it's not going to be this bad for this long. I mean, look how quick the Astros turned around. I mean, they had this kind of tank just like we did, just like a complete retooling of the whole organization, basically. And now they're one of the best teams in the league. They were very close to getting to the World Series last year. They're competitive. They got a really good roster, and they're struggling right now, but I expect them to turn it around and get back into the playoffs again this year.
Well, one of the biggest trades we made during this rebuild was when we traded Craig Kimbrell. And we actually he had negative value because we attached BJ Upton's contract to him. But we got a good return for him. We got Matt Whistler, other assets.
Yeah.
You look at a guy like Arodys Vizcaíno, who has just as dominant numbers as a closer.
Yeah.
And you've got to wonder, will they make him? Will they put him on the market? If they can get a type of return like they got for who was that closer that got traded?
Kimbrel.
No, the other one that was this offseason to the Phillies from the Astros.
Oh, I have no clue.
Let me look it up real quick. Okay.
Fucking great.
You look.
You ready?
Yeah. You look at the Ken Giles trade, how much the Astros gave away to get him. If a team really goes after Vizcaíno, you don't want to give him up because he's young, he's cost controlled, he's an elite pitcher. He's what you want to build around. But this team's not going to win any games anytime soon, one. And two, people forget there are some concerns with Vizcaíno. He's gone in trouble for PEDs. He's had Tommy John surgery. you've got to consider it at least. If you have a great offer on the table for Vizcaino, there's some concerns with him.
I definitely think Vizcaino is off on the table, especially if anyone's willing to give us some good prospects for him, which I think there'll be some good offers out there. I mean, obviously you mentioned the concerns, and closers in general, I just think are kind of a dime a dozen. I mean, look how quickly we replaced Craig Kimbrell. It seemed like overnight we had another great closer, and getting guys to, it's not easy per se, but there's guys out there that can do it. And if someone's willing to give us top prospects while we're in the gutter, I mean, we've got to take advantage of that.
Well, here are some guys that you can have if you're a team trying to acquire a player from the Braves. Adonis Garcia, Jeff Francoeur, Nick Markakis, Chase Darno, AJ Pierzynski, Tyler Flowers.
I think Markakis is definitely the most interesting of that bunch because he's still locked up for a couple more years to some the second biggest contract on the team outside of Freddie Freeman.
I think that they have to salary dump Nick Markakis at some point because
he just hasn't worked out. Let's be honest.
I love Markakis.
He's a decent hitter, but
they're invested in him, and I think they want to move him because they have Inciarte and they have
Alex Smith,
and that's that side of the outfield.
And you want those guys getting reps too. I mean, Nick Markakis right now for this team is doing nothing except taking up.
It's not a competitive team, and
and he can play. He can play for good teams, and it's not that we need prospects. I mean, we just need to get rid of the money, really.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's buyer's remorse with Nick Markakis. He's been one of the more steady.
Yeah, I mean, he was our best hitter last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Really. But long term, this guy means nothing. People question the signing when we made it. Why are you signing a 4-year deal? And
if we were any good, it would have made sense. But right now, he should definitely be on his way out of Atlanta for both of our sakes. I mean, I can't imagine it's any fun playing for 17 and 42 club when you're actually a pretty decent player.
You can still be with Baltimore for $4 million less.
Yeah, but Baltimore's cheap. No, I'm just kidding.
They are cheap, just like us.
Yeah, they are.
All right, well, that wraps it up for our first episode. We're going to be back right with new material for y'all next Friday. Thank you for listening. Leave feedback. Follow us on Twitter. Go to our website. We post articles daily. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, that was so gay.
No, it wasn't.
I can't wait to hear how awful this was.
Dude, it wasn't that bad. Like, I feel like we did pretty good in the middle, like when we weren't doing shit.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're gonna obviously have to edit some shit out, but like
I can also always re-record the introduction and the outro. Because it's just me talking, so.
I don't think but I thought it was fun. I thought once we got into talking about shit, I thought we were good.
I just hope that this shit saves when I click stop broadcast. You ready to find out?
I hope it better save. We just spent an hour and a half doing this.